Fire away, Mr. Souther.
Well, Coach, I guess just start out, obviously, you're going down to play at San Jose State, and people are going to mention Woj and stuff, but, just going down there, it's going to be the last road game, and you talked after the game, after San Diego State, about having a real quick turnaround and a quick focus back on that.
Yeah, and nothing's changed in our quest of what we're trying to do right now, and, the only thing that's changed is we put ourselves in a position that's, where we can completely control our own destiny as far as winning the Mountain West title. But nothing changed with how we approach the game, how we prepare for the game, and what we do in the game.
You accomplished a lot of firsts kind of this year, and you like milestones and all that stuff. Any one of them you're proud of, or is the one that you really care about anything ahead?
Yeah, the one that's trying to win the race doesn't look behind them, and they look at what's in front of them, and that's where we are. That's where we are with this team. I mean, I think you and I can sit down in the at the end of the season and maybe reflect on some of those, and then I could pick some of those out. But right now, I don't care, and our team doesn't care. That's why we're playing good basketball too.
Big game Saturday night. Obviously, just as big a game coming up, against San Jose State on Wednesday. The difference is that San Diego State was pretty easy to get up for. You guys go in there ready to rock and roll. Mm-hmm. San Jose State, a little different animal. Does it give you something different? Because it's just as big a game we're standing.
Oh, absolutely. It's just as big as game. It's and the beauty of these guys is we fall back on our system. We fall back on what we do every day in practice. 102 practices of our habits, and that's how we approach the San Diego State game. Really, I mean, we didn't just rise up to the occasion. We fall back on what we've done all year long, and that's what we have to be able to do Wednesday. And now granted, there's a lot of emotion in that San Diego State game, because of that atmosphere and what was on the line. But the same thing's on the line Wednesday, and our guys understand that.
You talked about kind of looking at what the task ahead is. Is that one thing that's impressed you most about your team, the fact that I know they say one game at a time and stuff, and that can be sometimes cliche, but they've been able to do that.
Yeah, they've had a mature approach when we've needed to have a mature approach, but now you got to have the maturity, and you don't have many opportunities to play together anymore, and we're a team that's getting better. We have to relish in these moments that we get to play together, and that's Wednesday night.
Derek again gets Player of the Week, and so I think someone joked today that it should just be next year should be called the Derek Marks Player of the Week award.
I like it.
Just his consistency this year, and I don't know that was maybe something that maybe was a bit of a bugaboo for him, I guess, before. Yeah. But just how much does that impress you? His consistency, especially when teams are coming after him.
Yeah, it's his consistency, and it's this team. And if the team has inconsistencies of the way they play and the way they get Derek the ball and the way we run offense, the way we play defense, then Derek doesn't get these awards. And so, again, it's a big, big reflection on who he's playing with and the understanding that they have.
This year, a lot of things, one of the words that's come up with him is people talk about his maturity and stuff, and you've said it before. Mm-hmm. When you think of that, what does that mean to you? How has he done that?
You just, in a nutshell, if you looked at, I just remember games that we would lose when these guys were freshmen where I just put my head in my hands and go, okay, when they're seniors, they're not going to make those mistakes. And that's really what it is. That's experience. That's maturity. They don't make those mistakes now. And we were able to play through those mistakes. It's not like they play mistake-free basketball. They don't. But they've learned how to minimize those and how to play through them. And that's what great veteran players do.
How much has that aspect for Derek himself changed, even from junior to senior year? How have you noticed that?
Oh, it's huge because sometimes you didn't know. You couldn't hang your hat on what you were going to get every night, and now you are. You're hanging your hat on that, and you're also leaning on him to make sure the young guys understand that this is what they have to do tonight, and so he can lead them in that way. Where 2 years ago you couldn't have said that to him. You were worried about him being ready to play. So, that's what you want when you build a program, is to have your juniors and seniors and be able to model that behavior and help the young guys with that.
We kind of broached the subject yesterday, but Rob Heyer and the contributions he's been able to make, was there a turning point for him? Is there something that just spurred this? Was it just getting minutes? With guys
I think like with all these guys, it's just the settling into their roles. When guys can really understand their role and then just focus on that and be able to go out and execute their role at the highest level and create a niche for themselves in that way, I think it makes it easier on players. And I think he's really in a comfortable role right now and in a role that he can succeed in.
You've thrown the word around glue guy, and the ESPN guys ate that up. But the last glue guy here, Jeff Aloriaga, how do those two compare to each other?
Well, there's a lot of similarities in their personalities. Are a lot different in some ways, but the influence on the team is the same. They're winners, and they know how to win, and they know how to get the rest of their teammates to buy into that of what we have to do to win. So I think that's a big similarity.
How do they compare athletically?
You know, I mean, at positions when you compare them, you know, Jeff was kind of a 2-guard/4 man. You just don't know what he was, but he was our trigger. But you know, night in, night out, he was, you know, against a better athlete, no matter who we were playing, whether we were playing, you know, Corbin or San Diego State. I mean, he just did it with toughness and grit. And Rob has to do it in the same way a little bit because of the position. I mean, he's guarding NBA caliber athletes, and you know, so he's probably facing the same monsters as far as what Jeff had to face at his position.
I was kind of thinking about this. I remember about 2 years ago talking to you about Derek in his sophomore year, talked about his freshman year, and talked about his practice habits weren't good, basically. I mean, is it pretty amazing to see how far he's come, especially when, you know, we talked about that?
It's what you envisioned, you know, as a coach. You hope you can get those guys to that. And you have to have good kids. You have to have kids with character. You have to have kids that want to be coached, and then it means something to them. And when you get that, then you're able to push them through those times where they don't want to practice, and through those times where they want to be inconsistent. You know, I think, and it's credit to my staff, they've done an unbelievable job with Derek and teaching him how to fight through that stuff.
Putting together a couple of stories for the Mountain West tournament. One of them is on Chandler and David and the maturation over the course of the season. I know that's such a broad question, but when those guys
what college did you go to? You're using a lot of great
that
words.
maturation was huge.
Maturation broach.
Yeah.
I actually have a pretty decent vocabulary.
Used them.
I write for a living.
Use them
Yes.
correctly.
No, but
He did use them correctly.
when
Sorry to interrupt.
they first stepped on campus to where they are now, I usually don't have to ask questions because Dave handles it. From the day one to now, I mean, what are you seeing change the most in them?
Well, again, it's just a gradual maturation, and you know, it's just. But you also see in kids this age, you see the physical, you know, maturity coming, and you see the strength coming, and you know, you just see the understanding. So maybe you don't see it all out in the games, but we're finding that a little bit more every day at practice.
Those two being roommates, do you think that they've helped spur each other along in this process, having to go through the same thing together?
You know, I would probably, that probably helps them to have somebody to talk to about, you know, the same situation. They're both great high school players. They're both similar that way, and to be able to lean on each other. But I think the veterans probably help them more, where they get to see themselves and they get to see these guys that are a little bit more finished products, you know, and what they can accomplish if they keep fighting. And
now that they're at this point, did you ever at any point, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but did you ever think back and maybe regret not redshirting them, or did you say at some point in the season, I made the right decision by putting these guys in the fire immediately? Well, you know, both of them have contributed so much to this team, and, you know, there is it's a fine line. Sometimes you throw guys in too quickly and it hurts them. Sometimes you throw them in and they really make a jump because of it. And the thing about them is I want these two are going to be a cornerstone for our program down the road, and so they have to get some experience. And, you know, we lose Derek next year. We lose 5 seniors, and so we got to have a lot of guys that have experience, and I think they've gotten that this year. One last one from me. One of those guys you have back next year in Anthony. How's he doing mentally right now? Because I know physically it's probably not something we need to talk about at this point. I never worry about, Anthony mentally. I think he's going to go through the same thing Derek went through with his injury and the same process. And, you know, he's going to come out of this injury and he's going to be a hungry dog. And, you know, that's going to make him even a better player. Yeah, you know, the tournament stuff and all that stuff, don't pay too much attention to. But you mentioned one, kind of the guys deserve some recognition and stuff. You know, being close to top 25, stuff like that, being mentioned in those tournament conversations. What does that mean, you know, for you guys, for this program to be in this place? Yeah, that's where we want to be. And, you know, it's one thing to be mentioned in preseason polls and this and that. Those don't really mean much. Those are just the program's getting respect because you've, you know, built it or whatever. But when these guys, the stuff you're getting right now, you've earned every bit of it. And these guys have earned every bit of it. And, you know, I want them to be a little with the chip on their shoulder, though. They're not probably getting the respect they deserve nationally.